Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for being here. Could you just remind the body how long do people serve for life? What's the minimum amount of time they serve when they get life?
Life.
No, the minimum. What's the minimum? How many years is it?
We don't have that. We have. I mean, it. Anybody else can chime in, but life.
Life means life. Huh?
Life means life. With a parole eligible life sentence, previously you could be considered for parole at 15 years, but the instance, I'm not aware of anybody who was serving a life sentence who was paroled their first time up at 15 years. And there's no mandatory, if you have a life sentence, there's no mandatory release date term of years. Okay.
The General Assembly also changed parole eligibility when it removed the governor from the process and put that at 20.
Okay, 20 years. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I thought it was something like that. So my next question is to the gentleman in the glasses. You had talked a lot about sort of brain development, and everyone's mentioned children a bunch of times. Obviously, this bill is not just about children. It's 25 years old. It's considered by most people's standards to be an adult. They can vote. They can go to strip clubs, and they can drink alcohol. They can do all these things. And are you aware in the state of Maryland that we are going quite literally in the exact opposite direction of this bill on many things? We've allowed children now, minor children, to consent to medical treatment, mental health care, medications in many circumstances. So I'm just wondering, how does this policy jive with the direction of literally almost every other policy that we see outside of the juvenile justice arena?
The scientific studies suggest that brains of humans in general are not fully developed until approximately age 25. And the part of the brain that develops last is good judgment. That fact is really supported not just by our common experience, but by the number of offenses that you see committed by age group, which are offenses of impulse, and it also, I think, is supported by popular culture. When you see the people who participate on game shows and do the most idiotic, self-endangering things, they are people under the age of 25.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I find it a little odd that our body is trying to now get people to vote at 16, to do all kinds of things as minors, yet this area where they need to be held accountable for murdering people, we're saying, oh no, they can vote, they can consent to drugs, but they can't do this.
The reason, of course, that we dropped it from age 21 to age 18 was the draft. And the premise that was accepted by people across the country with amazing rapidity is if you're old enough to be pulled into the Army and face death, then you ought to be old enough to vote.
Yeah, I certainly understand the concept of voting, but with all due respect, voting and the draft has nothing to do with the mental health treatment that we're now letting kids consent to, all kinds of other treatments they're allowed to, without parental knowledge. We're making very serious, potentially dangerous decisions for children that are literally flying in the face of what you just told me about brain development.
A corollary of the scientific evidence is that people who are under the age of 25 are also more susceptible to rehabilitation and can actually change their behavior, change their values, and become much more responsible than a person who displays similar behavior after the age of 25. If they're still doing this after the age of 25, that person is likely got serious character defects and, in fact, may be appropriate for public safety purposes to be incarcerated for some substantial period of time. But if we can get these people while they are young and give them behavioral treatment and get them jobs and get them the education which all too often they didn't get before, you can actually drop their recidivism from way above 50% down into the low 20s or better.
Okay.
So
I hear
there
you.
is reason to treat them differently because you're actually improving public safety if you do.
I hear you. I think many people might feel that someone who drives over a woman with a car has a character defect, but thank you very much.
All right, Delegate Taylor.